All right, everyone, welcome along. Let's just do a quick one today. It's definitely out of band. I feel we just need something, and I'm going to slot this in. We'll slot it into the Copilot series because I think it's just where it needs to go, but it's not a video, so I don't know. Ignite's going on. Lots has been announced. We are going to tweak our cycle. So in particular, we've just done our Power Apps video. I knew that was going to be terrible in terms of just it was not ready in terms of Microsoft, your platform that you tell everyone is great is terrible. And I think there's just not enough out there. I really want that video to show just it's not ready. It feels like they've kind of recognized that and they've released updates coming through to Power Apps and the whole way that Copilot integrates into the app creation experience. Potentially, that could be a real game changer. And I think we will reshoot our video based on it, and we will update our cycle for this video series as well, just to kind of allow for that. What we'll probably do is do a proper comparison video. So I'll do a native build or a legacy style build using Power Apps and see, well, this is kind of what we would build, and then let's see what the new interface allows us to build and see if we can come up with something similar. Seems like a good idea. The piece that I want to really discuss is kind of like AI is coming through, isn't it? It's really, there's a big push now. Like almost everything was going to be, oh, we've got a Copilot engine for this, so we've got like, oh, we're going to have Copilot in here, Copilot there. Is it adding value to what we need to do? And I'm not sure. And I think one of the other things that I think we do need to be really clear about is there's still huge question marks in terms of actually what do my licenses get me with any of the Copilot stuff. So, I mean, we, as an organization, we bought the Copilot licenses, Copilot Pro kind of licenses for the team. Because I think it's really important that we try and stay up front with it and see what we can do. Now, that's fine, and that works for a lot of stuff, but then I was, well, it doesn't give us anything in Power BI. So, well, okay. So Power BI, you need fabric capacity. Now, fabric capacity is, so that's a high cost item. And to be 100% transparent, for us as an organization, there'd be no point in me getting fabric capacity for the team. It just would not make any sense. There'd be no benefit. We just wouldn't do it. So that leads to all sorts of questions and queries, because for a consultancy, it means that you kind of end up having to say, well, we're going to try and do trial stuff, which honestly just avoid like the plague. It's if you just live in the world of trials, then what you tend to do is you tend to do things that are very curated and rigid and follow stuff, but it's a difficult landscape to do things in, because what I've seen happen is it's not the, hey, we've just done this that causes the problems. It's the, oh, we did this 3 or 4 months ago. Now what does this mean? And you're not going to get that in a trial landscape. So trial will help. Oh, you do the implementation. It's dead easy. Yeah, great. But it's that whole, what do we do next? And from my side, where the benefits of Copilot and Power BI are, is it's for the business user who's going to be able to say, well, I want to do a little bit, or, oh, I don't quite know how to write a DAX statement that does this. What do I need to do? And the more we can empower those people to do the work that they need to do, the less of a load it puts on your core data team and allows them to do much more work in terms of actually managing and maintaining that data platform so that it's consistent and stable, which is really what you want. So it makes it really difficult. I haven't figured out a way that we can really push or test how all that works. The other thing that's come through and that's been mentioned, and I have to say, this is entirely my view, okay? It's not something that Microsoft have said, but this whole Fabric SQL or Fabric databases piece, right? Is this the first step towards removing Dataverse? Now, technically, Dataverse is supposedly like a managed database solution that you can use to deploy your apps into and deal with stuff. Which isn't that what this Fabric databases is about? it feels like it's kind of joining together what was Azure SQL and Dataverse and bringing the two together into one platform so that you've got kind of this like meshed solution now. So you can take your traditional Azure SQL loads, you can take your Dataverse loads, you can bring them together, you can analyze them, you can do everything about them in one place. So if I was to say, well, how can we join in or join far more of our Power Apps and Power Automate workloads into stuff like that, then yeah, I need that database in Fabric. So and I mean, this is just me looking at it going, is that what I see? I don't know. Um, there's a few other things. So the idea of Azure Local, which potentially allows us, and I think that was what Microsoft was showing in their videos dedicated to Azure Local, was, hey, look, recycle your old stuff, which is brilliant. I mean, businesses have got old servers lying around. I've got old stuff lying around, which we probably try and use for Azure Local. I think there's still question marks in terms of the licensing model for it. So it looks like they're doing a per core license model. Then potentially, do you need to license additional bits to use it with? But then what can we use it with? Because if you could turn around and say, oh, well, we can run our Databricks or our PySpark workloads on our Azure Local implementation rather than paying compute in Azure, that potentially is a really interesting option because you can manage that compute. You can kind of just tailor it. If somebody does a rubbish query, you're not going to suddenly end up with like a huge cost or a case of where, well, nothing's processed because it was all used by this and capped at that price, so it hasn't finished. There's all these like horror stories that you hear about in the cloud that potentially, does that allow us to offset that by using our legacy hardware to do all that? Even if it's a case of saying, oh, well, it's a per core cost, is what does that look like? Is it going to be per core? Is it going to stay that way? I mean, obviously, when I looked at it 24 hours after announcement, yes, it was looking like per core, which kind of scares me. We've got 20 core servers here in our office. So that's going to be quite a high cost to use those for Azure Local. Would it be a case saying, oh, you need to go, get on eBay, find something and, the quad core variety, and you can then use that, which is kind of what they used. They're talking about low cost hardware, which is great. But hey, great, we've got this low cost bit of hardware, but because it's got 20 cores, it's going to be, $300 a month to run it. Well, that's less low cost, isn't it? That kind of, it's an interest. I don't know what that's going to look like or how that's going to shape out. I mean, obviously, Azure Local, it seems to be kind of live already, as opposed to just being in full beta or like early access. So we'll keep an eye on it, I think, and I'm going to have a look and see. I think I've got a quad core, maybe like server somewhere that we might be able to roll that into and see, is this going to give us some value add from it, and just see how it works. But I think it's a difficult one. We need to be able to take that workload down and run it locally and manage it. But then, again, are you going to get egress charges for it? Is that something that's going to come through? What's the actual throughput going to be like? Bearing in mind that you're going to run through your internet connection, and it'd be both directions, so you're up and down, which potentially there's an impact there on your business. I know we've been looking at upgrading our network circuit here. Potentially that'd be something that you might find you need to do if you want to go Azure Local. I mean, they have said gigabit limit or gigabit minimum. Now, is that gigabit network connection in terms of that you have to have gigabit internet, which is going to limit quite sizably in terms of the global footprint for it? Might be fine across the US, might be fine across much of the UK and Europe. But, as you get into other countries, potentially gigabit is maybe, you're going to struggle. You might find it's around urban centers, but your offices that are out of town, often can be where you've got other infrastructure. I don't know, especially now with companies saying, well, we're going to get rid of our data centers that would have had all those high capacity network connections and where you're going to use our office space. And, a post-COVID landscape where our high-value city centre offices are potentially closed to go to our lower cost advertising. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what's going to happen with this Azure Local. We'll keep an eye on it, because if we can offset some of the cost for it, that's ideal. And that'd be great for some of our clients. I know we've looked at some things in the past where we've looked, well, and it was frankly, the cost of Azure that was just such a vagary. It made it really difficult to properly price something for a client. So let's see what happens with it over time. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. So I hope that helps. As I say, let me know. Tell me down below, what are your views? Do you think I'm completely off bat with this? Am I just being crazy? In tinfoil hat on. Is it good? Is it bad? And if you want to have a conversation with us about consultancy, don't forget, get in touch. office@geordieconsulting.co.uk. We'd love to help you take your business and your data to the next level. For now, though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.